What if the plague wasn't a germ you see under a microscope? What if it was a monster? A physical thing walking the earth carrying a scythe? That sounds like a movie plot, but for an entire civilization, it was absolutely real.
So, let's get into it. Today, we're going to look at this incredible project that uses AI to do something I've never seen before. It lets us see the Black Death, not with our modern scientific eyes, but through the absolutely terrified imagination of the Middle Ages.
Okay, first let's start with what we know today. For us, in the 21st century, the Black Death is basically a solved case. It's a horrible tragedy, of course, but it's something we can understand, something we can quantify.
And our modern understanding really comes down to two things. On the one hand, you have the big picture evidence, the bones. We can literally look at mass graves and see the sheer scale of the devastation. And on the other hand, you have the microscopic reality, the Yersinia pestis bacterium. We found the tiny killer responsible.
This whole view is built on fields like forensic pathology. It's a very clinical, very objective process. It tells us how people died, what the disease physically did to them. The story is told through data and evidence. It's all very clean, very detached, and scientific.
That is not how they saw it. It's not even remotely close. To really get their perspective, we have to kind of strip away everything we know about science. We have to go back to a world that was lit by candlelight, a world steeped in faith and, overwhelming fear. For them, this wasn't about bacteria. This was about the end of the world.
And you can see their worldview perfectly in their art. Out of this incredible trauma, a whole artistic movement was born, the Danse Macabre, the dance of death. In paintings and poems, they showed death as a literal skeleton who came for everyone. It didn't matter if you were a king, a peasant, a child, nobody escaped.
And here's the crucial thing. This wasn't just a metaphor for them. They were trying to give a face to a fear that was just too big to comprehend. The plague was so vast, so inexplicable, that the only way to process it was to imagine it as a real, physical monster that was stalking the land.
So that was the filter they saw everything through, this lens of absolute terror and superstition. It wasn't just a disease, it was a punishment from God, a curse, a specter that had literally come to life.
So you've got these two completely different worlds, right? Our clinical, scientific view and their emotional, terrifying reality. So how on earth could you ever connect the two? Well, it turns out you build a digital bridge with AI.
That's the core challenge right there. How do you take the cold, hard data from forensics and animate it using the visual style of 14th century horror art? How do you make science feel like a nightmare?
Okay, so here's the simple breakdown of how it works. The AI is basically fed two different things. First, it gets all the scientific data, the facts about how the plague spread, what it did to the body. Then, it gets all the artistic data, those haunting, creepy images from the Middle Ages, especially the Danse Macabre. The AI's job is to smash those two worlds together, to synthesize them. And what comes out the other end is something totally new. An animation that moves with scientific accuracy, but looks and feels like a medieval woodcut that's come to life.
And the result is, it's really something you have to see for yourself. It's like they found a way to manifest a historical terror and animate it for us today.
What you're looking at here is just that raw emotion. The AI isn't just copying old art. It's somehow channeling the feeling behind it. It's so unsettling because it feels ancient and alive at the very same time.
And here, the animation is showing us the actual biological process, but it's doing it through that medieval filter. It's kind of like having germ theory explained to you by a demon. It's science, but it's dressed up as supernatural horror.
And then finally, this is the full manifestation. This is the Black Death as they saw it. Not a bacterium, but a character. A skeletal specter that moves with this horrifying purpose. Its actions are driven by the cold logic of pathology, but it's rendered as the absolute stuff of nightmares.
So this is way more than just a cool tech demo. It represents a profoundly new way to engage with history. It really shifts our focus from just knowing what happened to trying to understand how it felt.
To actually see a historical nightmare visualized and brought to life, it means we can connect with the past on this gut level, this emotional level that you just can't get from textbooks and charts.
And really, that's what's so powerful here. This technology builds a bridge between their time and ours. It creates a kind of historical empathy. It's a totally new tool for visualizing cultural trauma, letting us feel the terror of the past, not just study it from a safe, comfortable distance.
And all of this leaves us with a fascinating and maybe a little unsettling final question. Now that we actually have the power to bring the fears of the past back to life, to literally walk through their nightmares, what other historical ghosts should we choose to resurrect?